The House Homeland Security Committee today held a hearing on combating radical Islam. One of the star witnesses, Fox News military analyst and the chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, four-star General Jack Keane. Listen.
What ISIS has accomplished in the last few weeks is unprecedented and quite stunning. While conducting a conventional war in Iraq and Syria, ISIS has staged terrorist attacks on a global scale against the people from the countries who are fighting ISIS. The result is almost 900 casualties in 12 days. Can you imagine the impact if the Nazis were conducting terrorist activities in major American cities while the United States was fighting the Nazis in Europe?
General Keane joins us now. General, good to see you. Let me ask you this. You said today this is a multi-generational struggle against radical Islam, which will likely dominate the first half of the 21st century. Did this all spring from the, quote, JV team?
Well, first of all, the multi-generational struggle implies the entire radical Islamic movement. ISIS, clearly, in your statement, I think has always been understated by the President of the United States right from the beginning, minimizing the challenge, etc. ISIS is something we should not spend a lot of time on because the longer they exist, the more they're going to kill and eventually going to come to America. This is a force that's holding terrain, and it's from that terrain in Iraq and Syria that they're conducting all these attacks that we just talked about in that testimony and you highlighted. We have got to take that territory away from them, and we have got to kill them in that territory. That is something we should do as immediately as possible because the killing will continue, the barbarism will continue. That means resolve, commitment, dogged determination to succeed, and a full measure of the resources, finally, once and for all, that are required.
I know you mentioned today up to 10,000 U.S. troops, but the argument from the other side is that's what they want. Bin Laden wanted to tempt us into going to fight him on a foreign land so we could spill American blood over there, and Al-Qaeda grew X number of fold. They had a couple hundred fighters, they said, prior to 9/11, and they wound up having thousands. That's the argument on the other side. This is a lure. This is a trap.
There certainly is an issue with putting large amounts of combat troops from America, from France, from England, back into Arab countries. I understand that. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about 10,000 troops to assist the local forces who are already there. But give them all the resources that they need, not 300. And also, this is combat. Remission our special operation forces so they can conduct large-scale raids, not just hostage rescue. Take down critical nodes. Put the safe zones in Syria that so many people have talked about along the Jordanian and Turkish border.
You've said our guys are operating under these rules of engagement, which have never been utilized. If there may be a civilian in the area, they can't do it, and this is not how warfare has been conducted. But I want to get to this point before we run out of time, because you talked today about how the U.S. has no comprehensive strategy to defeat radical Islam, and the president won't even call it that, and neither will the Democrats, not Hillary, not Bernie Sanders. So many have argued that would play into their narrative. Why do you disagree?
That's absolutely rubbish that would play into the narrative, what they're saying. This radical Islam is a religious-based ideology, and you actually have to, when you're dealing with the ideology, you have to attack it on that basis. We need clerics and national leaders who are Muslims to do that very thing. I say, listen, I've been frustrated since 9/11. A Republican president and a Democratic president. The fact of the matter is we never developed a comprehensive strategy to deal with radical Islam. And the 9/11 Commission said one of the things we must do is develop a global alliance to combat it. If we start getting after that, then we don't have to fight each one of these movements every time they pop up.
Is one growing now? Is one growing with France, outraged, with Russia presumably ready to do even more than it's been doing, which has its own risks?
Listen, Russia's got 34 airplanes, 16 helicopters, some artillery. They're not going to be able to do that much. Putin puts a little on the table and gets a lot out of it. We should not do anything with Putin. Putin has propped up the Assad regime, 250,000 dead, 11 million displaced people. That's a moral outrage what he's been doing. And I believe he's got a trap for Kerry, and I think he'll walk right into the trap and wind up making a deal with Putin, just like he did with Putin and Iran on the nuclear weapons deal as well.
General Jack Keane, I will say for the record, we didn't get to it, but General Keane is supportive of allowing the Syrian refugees to come in this country and believes we can adequately screen them. We'll discuss that another night. General, great to see you.
Good talking to you, Megyn.
Breaking tonight, President Obama under fire for suggesting that when it comes to those refugees from Syria, Republican rhetoric could be construed as an ISIS recruiting tool. Dana Perino is next on that.